Oh, we already got woofed from somebody else.
We did.
Excellent.
You know, we didn't get woofed last week. There was no woofing. Later.
Sorry.
Later. Much
Oh,
later.
is a
Yeah.
post woof?
No, but he still missed it. Glad to hear.
Oh, this is somebody else.
Priorities. Oh, it's a different woof?
Another woof.
Oh, man. It's like a thing now.
Nope. Oh, there we go. All right. I think we're up on everything now.
All right, welcome, everybody.
Check Facebook. It shows live, but it's
yeah.
not showing me the crooks.
The Book of Faces. We're just getting logged in on all the different platforms. I don't know if you guys know, but we stream simultaneously on 3 different platforms. I've never heard of anyone doing that.
Man.
But thanks to the genius of Nate, he created a way to do it, which has taken years off his life.
It really has. I got to stop trying to figure these things out.
We would have so many more tunes and calibrations available.
That's the whole reason we've got all this backlog.
Yeah, that's the new reason.
I keep these streams.
Are we good? Facebook?
I cannot get it to play in my.
Yes.
It is okay.
It just turns out Facebook's just down.
Facebook's just a turd for this.
It's good? All right. Okay. Welcome to the 034 Motorsport live chat. This is episode 1. What are we? 136.
Yep.
I'm Javad Shadzi. This is Nate Stewart. I'm the CEO, and Nate's our head of engineering. I realize a lot of people don't know how to say my name after this weekend. So Javad Shadzi. That's how you say it.
Which is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I talked to a number of people that watch the stream, so you'd think they'd
Yeah.
click. Yeah,
We had our Summerfest or Winterfest event on Saturday.
definitely Winterfest.
It was wintry and cold, but no rain, thankfully. Rained in the morning, very early. But it was a really great event. I'd say we had easily 300 plus people there.
Yeah.
I think I served about 250 to 300 bowls of chili, according to the bowl count. So, anyways, thank you for joining us if you did. But anyways, this is a time that we discuss all things 034. We're happy to answer any questions that you'd like to ask. We take a no BS approach to responding. And what else do I always say? All right, but feel free to ask us about anything.
Cars or otherwise.
You never do. It's always about cars and 034. Oh, and then if you have a comment, please feel free to leave it. If you love us, certainly let us know. And if you hate us, we definitely want to know about that too, so we can try to do something about it. And woof, right back at you.
Yep.
So let's get going. We got some questions rolling in. Do the new cams for the B8 S4 create a nasty sounding chop?
Not really. No, it's
You mean like at idle?
yeah.
Like,
You don't get this like bumpy, lumpy idle. No, it's you get a little bit of that on like super cold start. If you've got secondary air coming on with stock cats, it'll get a little bit of that going on. But in general, no, they're quite smooth, especially given how much of a modified profile they are compared to stock.
Yeah, and that's the part of the beauty of these motors too, with the variable
Right.
cam
Right.
type.
You can move the cams around. You've got very advanced ECU controls. Kind of managing all that. So
Yeah. I've been doing cams since the 90s, and back then, I mean, 8-valve VWs, 10-valve Audi i5s. There wasn't much you could do to the cam without seriously affecting the idle.
yeah, it was always a big compromise.
So it's a huge compromise of, it makes, on an 8-valve, 1.8 cylinder, you could make another 10, 12 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, but now you're idling like a top fuel dragster, and that's just the way it was. Same thing with the 10-valve. The 20-valve, same basic issue, although much higher flowing head.
Yeah, those aren't nearly as bad.
Didn't really need cams in that motor. But anyways,
We get 7.8 drag race cams. I mean,
yeah, the drag racing 7.8. But yeah, no, it should. You won't really notice much.
no.
And there would be absolutely no reason to, given the fact that there is so much control over the cams. You guys mentioned possible cam pre-release option. Last thing I'm waiting for this build of mine. Also, what's the spring rate for the springs? Can your cams be used with other springs and retainers? We will do a pre-release. Nick, we should talk about that. Depends how long you all want to wait. We hate doing pre-releases because it sets expectations, and if there's any delays, people get upset. But if we do, we will do something, and we will be very upfront about how long things will take. As far as spring rates, all that will be published soon when we release information on those. And yes, the cams can be used with other aftermarket springs, although ours will come with springs.
Yeah, you do want to make sure. I think we'll have to post the stack heights and stuff for the spring set, because you want to make sure that whatever spring package you've got, the stack height will accommodate the extra lift on these cams.
For example, the cams will come with springs and retainers that we also source through Cat Cams.
Yeah.
But we are also posting another spring and retainer product from SuperTech on our website for anyone who wants to just buy springs and retainers by themselves, and those would also be compatible with our cams. So, but like Nate said, just to be safe, you want to make sure.
Yep. Yeah, there's a follow-up. Somebody's asking, would it ever make sense to put cams on stage 1 or single pulley? I absolutely think so, yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fantastic track day combo. You've got all that extra top end. It's just freeing up all the, a bunch more airflow on the top end for you. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it on a stock tune if the stock tune allowed it. You'd make more power. It's just a better flowing cam setup that will work on any stage. And the higher stage you are, the more power you're going to gain from it.
Yep.
In general. Someone's asking for a Woof shirt.
It sounds like he said there's a shirt coming soon.
Oh, there is a shirt.
Yeah.
Someone's Making a Woof shirt.
He's making a Woof.
Okay, well, we'll let them up front the capital for that, and then there's an opportunity. Hi, I'm about to receive your tune and saw that you advise using a charger. I can borrow a 12 amp version, but is that enough? The battery is 8 months old, so not sure.
I mean, we recommend a good charger. I don't know what vehicle you're on. Some flashes take longer than others. So yeah, I think we recommend a 20 amp. That said, I will say that I've done it lots of times with much less charger on there, especially if your battery's healthy. If it's only 8 months old, you're probably in good shape.
What's the
for the full flash? Yeah.
What's the worst thing that can happen if the battery dies?
It can be gnarly, depending on what flash it is. So we do strongly recommend, especially if you're not familiar with this and what exactly is going on, that you have all the all the proper resources in place so that you can have the best possible outcome.
Yeah, this is the problem. You don't really need a charger, but if you do need one, you could brick your ECU.
It could be bad. Yeah.
And now you're talking about a dead car that could have to go to the dealer and all kinds of issues. So, a good analogy of this would be like, some activity where if you fall 1 foot, or you're doing the same activity, but if you fall 20 feet. Well, you're going to have to wear a safety harness for the 20-foot version, even though you probably won't ever fall off because it's not hard. But if you do, you're going to die.
Yeah. Or driving a car, do you wear a seatbelt or not?
Right.
It's kind of one of those sort of things where you almost never need it, but when you do, it's much
so in order to alleviate the possibility of having that ever happen, we recommend 20 amp. If you have an 8 amp, it will certainly help. I mean, your battery's discharging during the flash, and an 8 amp it'll offset the rate of discharge by 8 amps. A 20 amp, we believe, would prevent it from ever happening in any case.
And there's stuff you can do to help. Lights off, HVAC off, entertainment stuff off. But ideally, just a charger that can maintain your battery would be the way to go. And the dealer, I mean, this is not just us. When you go to a dealer, they've got like 100 amp, flash modules they'll plug in to keep a battery at a certain voltage the whole time.
Good morning. Any chance of an update on the Mark 8 GTI TCU Stage 1 tune?
Stage 1 tune? Stage 2 tune is what we'll be calling the updated tune. And yes, we're basically done. It is it's in a really good place right now. So you'll be seeing more of that, more information I think quite soon on that.
Yeah,
And it's
definitely coming.
Yeah, we spent a bunch of time getting everything working the way we wanted it to work with all kinds of good stuff coming in the future for it.
How's the mobile features coming along? It's coming
So very good.
very well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just working on some of that this morning with one of our other programs.
Get ready to have your mind blown. That's all I can say. So don't think it's unnoticed. You guys got forged rods and a cam for the B8.5. Is there a stage 3 tune in the works? And if you could put a round number on, not exact, what do you think the horsepower would be?
I mean, that's going to depend on some other, power adder stuff coming down the pipeline. So right now, these are supporting mods for upcoming things. Ultimate power output is going to be dependent very much on the power adder. So the supercharger in play.
But, we are at a point with these cars where, the possible engine limits are being pushed. And, so we wanted to make some of those parts available for anyone who wants to build a bulletproof motor. And there is more and more power coming. The stage 3 supercharger option has potential. It's yet to be proven. It's not really a thing yet, but we will be working with who's the one doing the supercharger?
Oh, Merc.
We will be working with mercracing to do a tune for their supercharger when they have a unit available for us to do that with, and we will be pretty much the only ones supporting that for a period of time. So, the potential is there. We're working on fueling solutions as well. So again, we're not done with the B8. We're going to keep pushing the limits on that. And I think there's a lot of peeps out there, who are kind of stuck at the stage 2+ level with maybe a ported supercharger, who are looking to do more. So we want to support you guys. Last live, you guys talked about no need for pistons. That would mean you guys will be solving the fuel issues. What's the weakest part on fueling? Low pressure fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump, or injectors?
I would conflate one to the other, and the pistons don't necessarily have anything to do with fuel supply.
I mean, I guess I'd be interested to know, is there an implication that the motors are running lean and that's causing piston failure?
But you're not going to design a piston for a lean running motor.
No. You can't.
That's not a thing. So no, I mean, yeah, we're working on fueling side. That is, we've got a number of irons in the fire for that one. So until it's all tested and vetted and ready, we can just tell you we're working on stuff.
We are. As far as the pistons, the failure that we've seen, and this is nothing new. This goes back, since pretty much the B8 came out, is we do occasionally see factory pistons literally crack in half. And this is with no evidence of detonation, no damage to the piston or the spark plug. It appears to be, I don't even want to say it's a strength issue, although obviously that piston is breaking in half because it's not strong enough. But it seems like there could be like some kind of defect or issue in some of these pistons that's just causing them to randomly break. We've seen it on stock motors. Dealerships know about this. It's exceedingly rare. On the internet, you'll hear about it enough to make you think that it's a problem. But I mean, as far as a percent of the number of cars affected by this cracking piston phenomenon,
Really small.
It's got to be, in basis points, like 0.1% of all 3.0Ts on the road.
And there certainly have been a number of piston issues and ringland issues with other motors, but that's everyone we've seen has been traced back to either an injector or intercooler leaking or some other mitigating event that no piston's going to be able to deal with properly.
Yeah. So overall, we our position isn't that the factory pistons are weak and need to be replaced at these power levels. It is a quality forged piston, and it does hold up. And 99% of all these tuned applications, they're not having issues with pistons. So with the potential of a bigger supercharger, there's more torque capability, there's higher revving capability. And so that's where the need and benefit of a good quality rod, like the powders that we developed, with the higher strength rod bolts. So, the issue you have with a higher revving motor is as with each RPM increase, when you go from 6,500 to 7 to 7,500 to 8, that piston is propelled upwards. And then at some point, the crank hits, top dead center, and the rod is responsible for pulling that piston down. And that piston is traveling like the speed of a bullet, at those high RPMs. So the amount of force is astronomical. And that's completely put on the rod bolts, not the rod itself. Certainly at some point the rod would fail too, but typically we find rods
you can stretch the wrist pin
divisions. But typically we find the rods, even factory rods, can rev quite high, but it's the rod bolts that have the issue. So now on the downstroke bottom dead center, you have an issue with the rod strength, which again isn't usually the problem. It's as combustion is propagating and applying that torque through the rod to the crank that the rod can bend.
Yeah, that way is not a rev issue. It's a
that's a compression strength
combustion event.
So these rods address both those issues. You could make truly a bulletproof motor that could rev to 9,000 RPM and withstand 200 foot-pounds of torque per rod easily. So I think once we start getting into stage 3, if you want a really bulletproof setup that you could track and beat on, a motor with the head studs, the main studs, the rods, or head gaskets, it's going to contribute to building a really solid, reliable motor. And then the cams will simply just give you even more power. Which version of the upper control arms do you recommend for a B9 S4 lowered on Dynamic Plus springs to achieve minus 1.5 to 2 degrees of camber? I think you're going to want the camber arms. Well, I don't know. Well, he wants negative.
If you drop
camber.
it, you'll get about that. So it's
you're going to be right in the range of needing one or the other.
You could use either, probably.
You could use either to do that. Yes. But if you think you might want more camber, go with the camber arms. If you think you want that about that much or less, then go with correcting.
The ones that go further tracks.
Yeah, the
track spec is the one that'll get you more. So the camber correcting is generally the stock arm length and more. It'll be the stock arm length, amount of camber or less camber is all those are really good for.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when you lower the car, you're going to get like 1 to 1.5 minus camber. So, hey Nate, I flashed stage 3 E60 on the TT810 this weekend, and it is effing amazing. I think they meant fucking amazing. Please send me Chris's. He deserves it. Yeah.
I don't know if I can quite do that on here, but
we don't.
Happy to hear you're ripping around on that.
I think your words are all that Chris needs to hear. We don't recommend bribing our employees, or I don't know. That's got to be probably problematic at some point. But no, I'm glad you're happy. Yeah. Thank you. And it's not just Chris. We have a whole team of engineers that work on these, and it's truly a team effort.
I'm super lucky to have the team that I've got. Working on these calibrations for you. Yeah, Chris has spent a ton of time on that 810 file. So
he has, yes. But if Chris was the only one here, we would not have an 810 too.
That is, yes, correct. There's a lot of stuff going on.
B9 S5, is it possible to keep the car in dynamic every key cycle?
Sort of. I mean, yes and no. The modules, the ABS, the TCU, and the ECU will all basically default back to their normal position. Some will stay in dynamic mode, but it's not the full beans dynamic mode. You've got to cycle out and back into it. Currently, we don't have a good plan for that to lock that in on every key cycle. So no, it's across a couple of different modules, and there's not a simple way to do that just yet.
On to the brisket question.
I got it now.
Okay. Someone asked about how I like to do brisket. So I'm gonna. I think you could go online and find lots of good traditional ways to smoke a brisket. Here's a way I would recommend doing if you would like to enjoy brisket or any kind of beef cut that's kind of on the tougher, fattier side. So certainly pot roast would work well. You could even do this with tri-tip. Tri-tip's, more. It's not a real tender cut, and it's marbled nicely with fat. So I take. Let's just take a brisket, just trim any excess fat, but leave some on there. And then again, this is not a traditional preparation. Then take it and cut the brisket, slice it in about 3/4 inch thick to 1 inch thick slices, and then put it in a big like an aluminum roasting tray in your smoker. Season it with whatever dry rub that you'd like, and then seal and cover it with foil, and just smoke it at about 225 to 250 for like 3-4 hours. And then what's going to happen is that meat's just going to break down. It's going to get to about 200 degrees, and it's going to render out all the fat and the collagen and the connective tissue. And so when you open that foil, it's just going to be a pan of just delicious, juicy, beef in there. So then uncover it and continue to let it go about 250 to maybe 275. Season it some more and just let like the kind of top kind of crisp up a little bit. And then flip and rotate everything, let it crisp up. Do that a few times. It's just going to start breaking up and just turn into kind of like pulled brisket deliciousness. And then you can, once keep tasting it. Once it tastes good, you're done. You can just serve it like that. You can put it in tacos. You can even like throw it on a like a griddle or in a pan and crisp it up, kind of like carnitas. You can just do anything with it. So that's how I like to do brisket. And it doesn't take 18 hours. It takes 4 hours. You could start it right after breakfast on a Saturday and have amazing lunch or dinner. Give that a try. You can do that with chicken thighs. Really good with chicken thighs as well. And you can add some onions in there, some garlic, whatever you want to do. 2015 3.0T Q5 ZF8 TP file. Can I launch on the soft launch and still get AMAX shifting in comfort or auto mode? I have relocated cats I'm trying to protect.
So firstly,
he's in some.
An AMAX shift is likely going to be easier in your cats. It is less of a torque reduction. Your ignition advance is going to stay a little higher or quite a bit higher on an AMAX shift. And what happens is normally when these shifts happen, the ECU will pull a ton of timing out to pull the torque of the ECU down, and then start doing injector cuts when it gets below the point where it can just do it with timing. The ignition timing reduction is what puts all that heat, basically downstream of the engine and then into the cats. When you do an AMAX shift, that reduction is greatly reduced. So you're going to have generally a much more stable kind of EGT profile through the pull. So I would say the thinking there is a little bit backwards. So I would say you want the AMAX shift if you want to be more gentle on your cats during a launch.
Yeah.
So.
I was wondering if your team had tried the 4.0T C7 injectors on the 3.0T supercharged platform.
We're trying to think.
Nothing bolts in, if that's what you're wondering.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. ETA Ampere 750 for the B9 3.0T. We don't have an ETA, but
Coming up.
We're working on
Yep.
it. We're working on it. Chef Troy Stewart, as a chef, didn't think I was going to check in on what you guys are talking about to see you time out brisket.
Right.
Well, welcome. I have a great respect for chefs and anyone who's good at cooking food. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
Javad, I plan to slow cook my first brisket in a drip-proof container in my engine bay. There's a lot of room between the B9 0.5 cat and yeah.
Let it drip a little so you get that that nice waft.
That's true. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Do you remember that Seinfeld where he drives around town with pizza? On his engine compartment?
Mythbusters did a thing with Alton Brown too for Thanksgiving dinner.
I think in newer cars you could pretty much get away with it. I mean, the older cars all have so many leaks. And
you
stuff.
just have
it just tastes like oil.
It's just terrible.
But some of the newer cars, they're sealed up pretty well.
Not that we recommend it because it's likely.
No, do not do it.
Fire and death hazard.
You will die.
It's a hazard.
Just watch the Seinfeld.
Hazard to life.
Yeah, it did not go well for Kramer. Just watch the episode. I love that now there's an option to add the RCO control arms to the TTRS 8S by the addition of the camber and roll center adjusting ball joints. I would like to know if you have any guess why Audi didn't use the same setup for the TTRS 8S as the one using the RS3 8V. I know both cars have a different geometry, but you came to a common solution. I don't know. I mean, I think Audi made it a point to put a lot more aluminum in the TTRS and the TTs. It's not just the TTRS.
It certainly
the
seemed that way, yeah.
So I mean, most of the body is aluminum. A lot of the frame is aluminum, and everything in the suspension is pretty much aluminum. So when they made the change, they changed the camber adjusting setup. A lot of cars these days don't even have adjustable camber, so I don't think Audi was worried about that. But I think it just had something to do with the fact that they went aluminum for everything, and the 8V is supposedly like a GTI underneath. So they kept all the GTI and A3.
Well, it's just that alignment package and that the track width and all that combination of parts is kind of what they spec for that. So those arms just happen to have slotted provision in them and were made out of cast aluminum or forged aluminum only.
Yeah, and the factory offers basically no adjustability because there's no reason to make a factory car have adjustable. I mean, if they could lock everything in place and have it never change. Unfortunately, alignments change on cars just because things bend and twist and move. So there has to be a little bit of adjustability. I think on the TTRS, you center basically the subframe. So if one side has more camber than the other, you kind of split the difference. But from an aftermarket standpoint, like our perspective is alignment has to be adjustable because it's how you tailor and correct the handling outcome of any vehicle.
Yeah, we are very much a one size fits all for anything we offer. That's why we have the myriad of combinations of alignment parts you can pick from.
Yeah, I mean it's like Kraft mac and cheese. You just mix all the ingredients. But if we're making our own delicious mac and cheese, for the chefs here, we want to be able to add precisely the amount of seasoning that makes it taste the best. That could change from one cheese to another, or how much salt was in the noodles. So you want to be able to tailor that at the end to customize it. And that's the same thing with alignments. You can make a car handle terrible, or you can make it handle like world class, all with the alignments. So it's a big deal, and that's why we make it adjustable. But Audi they don't care about that. They design it, they lock it in, they have the recipe, it's the craft. Just mix all the ingredients together, get in the car, and drive. Is there potential that you can offer a tune for the B9 S5 RS5 DRC to solve the bouncy feel and poor damping settings on the stock programming?
That's not something we've, that's not on our roadmap at this point. There are some third-party modules out there that you can kind of program and customize. Well, actually, let me take that back. That's only for the small chassis stuff, right?
I don't know about the RS5.
Not the flex ray stuff. Yeah, no.
This is unfortunately a problem with a lot of the Audi suspension programming is bouncy in sport mode, which is why I almost never use it unless I'm on track. It works nicely on track if you're on a smooth track, like Laguna Seca or Sears Point or something. But I hear Buttonwillow's smoother these days.
Honestly, the stiffer springs do help.
They do,
because it gets to a closer matching to the dynamic mode on the DRC.
Yeah. Our Dynamic Plus springs with the sport mode is a much better handling and riding experience than the factory springs with the sport mode. So do that. But no, we're not getting into the reprogramming the DRC at this time. I mean, it would be a nice thing to do. I don't know. It's unfortunately probably not higher priority than so many other folks we're working on. How many hours do you think a shop would charge for cams? I don't know.
I got to talk to the techs on that.
See
where they're at.
We'll put that information out there. Our service department has done it a few times now, and they'll have. I mean, it's not a 2-hour job, but I don't think it's horrendous either.
Yeah, and like we mentioned this last time too, is these motors. If you haven't done your full timing service yet, it's probably a good time to look at that. So the cams aren't going to add a ton of time to that job. Because you got to lock everything in the same way. You've got to get all the timing chains off just like you do to change the cams out. So
Yeah, it might be a good time to do
it's a good time to kind of like maybe don't think of it as just a cam install, but it's time for your motor, your whole timing refresh.
Why do you know tuners offer flex tunes for most, if not all, Audi models? Would pay 2 to 3 times for a flex tune.
Because most won't pay 2 to 3 times for.
I don't think so. So I mean,
you're
a lot of our
talking-
tunes are $900.
Yeah.
So you're gonna pay $2,700
for a flex tune.
You're not.
The problem is just the cost of implementation, the amount of time it takes to get it at a reliable factory level of integration into these ECUs. Some fortunately have most of the software there, so Mark 7 MQB stuff. There's thankfully enough of the flex fuel system in place on the ECU, even though it's not used. The functions are still there that we can tap into those. It's not all there. You still have to add some provisions for torque and timing and that kind of thing, depending on what your ethanol content is. But on most ECUs, there's no concept of an actual like flex fuel sensor and being able to change your ratios. So that's all stuff that has to be custom programmed and created. And we have to think about it in a way that is as robust as any of the factory systems. So you need to have full fault diagnostics around it. You have to have redundancies, fail safes. What if the sensor dies? What if you get a short in the sensor harness? So
I mean, a short answer is it's a ton of work.
Yeah.
It's very complicated. And it would take away from our development efforts on actual tunes and calibrations, which make a big difference. And the flex fuel functionality just isn't that beneficial. I think it's a thing that some people would like to have. It's certainly nice to have, but is it nicer than having an 810 tune or a pure 750 tune or name the next tune that we'll do? No, not from our perspective. So if you have E85, you can load up our E85 tune. If you want to run E60, we have an E60 tune. If you want to do E40, we have E40 tune. Whatever it is, but it's just not. It's not. There's a reason. Really nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
And like Nate said, when it's built in the ECU, you see it happen more often.
yeah, it's a much shorter roadmap, but
if it's not there, then and the E85 era was kind of over in 2016, 2017
from Audi's perspective,
from a lot of the OEMs. I think some of the American vehicles still do it.
Is still much more adopted
because they're selling like fleet cars in the Midwest, and E85 is cheaper in some ways. But no, I think Audi did it kind of in the B8 era.
Yep.
And that was it.
And the Mark 7.
The Mark 7, but
it was never offered. They never actually released a flex fuel car here. The B8 at least was offered as
the B8 was offered factory.
They had some models that were flex fuel.
And I think there were some German cars that dabbled with it around, that time is 2010 to 2015. Yep. And then it's now it's all about electric. So at some point we probably won't even be able to buy E85. I haven't heard anything about that, but
let's hope not. Yeah.
Well,
maybe at some point it'll be E85.
It's something to think about because E85 was at one point kind of dubbed like the wonder fuel that would solve all our problems.
Somebody's asking, I think it's crucial to explain why it's so difficult, time consuming to add a flex tune. It's not about adding a tune. You're talking at a hardware level. You have to integrate.
You did. You spent
sensors.
like
I've
5 minutes talking about it.
Yeah, I know. I just did all that, but it's not just a calibration. You have to create entirely new maps, new functions, get new hardware signals into the ECU.
Here's the deal. When you're talking about flex fuel, you're not talking about a tune.
Yeah.
You're talking about ECU functionality. So there is an actual sensor that gets mounted in the fuel line coming from the tank to the engine. The ECU measures the ethanol content of the fuel in the tank using this sensor. That sensor data is brought into the ECU and ends up populating different maps and calibration strategies within the ECU. Now, if you have an ECU that didn't come with a flex fuel sensor, like almost every Audi, you now have to add a sensor, figure out how to wire that into the ECU.
Yeah, if there's available circuitry,
if there's extra pins or circuitry, and then you have to program that circuitry inside the ECU And you have to add that functionality. You have to port it over from some other Audi ECU to an ECU that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And then you have to make sure that all works and that it's safe and that it integrates with all the other functionality of the ECU, and that fuel maps and timing maps and idle and altitude settings and all the different running parameters of, you know, dwell and coil dwell time and how powerful the spark, you know, the MMI system has to, you know, compensate for having E85 and whatever percentage is, you know, it uses that to calculate. It's extremely complicated. So you're adding hardware and software functionality to a car that didn't have it. If that doesn't tell you how difficult it is, then, you know, we'd have to talk a lot more about some more basic stuff.
It's a very difficult, without getting really into the nitty gritty of what it takes to do things, you know, get an analog sensor piped in, or even do it over the CAN bus, which is available in some cases, but not any of these new cars. You know, it's not a simple path on that.
Yeah. Or we can simply do a calibration for a certain level or amount of E85. Right. You know, so we could do an E85 tune, which assumes, you know, about an E80 to E85 ethanol content. That's just a calibration you flash. We don't have to add any sensors. There's no wires. There's no pins. There's no software changes. It's just a new calibration. You just have to make sure that you put the right amount of E in the tank. Right. And it runs great. And that's what we do.
Yeah, and we are working, you know, as we mentioned earlier, on the mobile side of this to make flashing and changing those maps. You know, it's like 30 to 40 seconds to load in the new calibration. So we're working on giving you the option to do that, you know, from your phone, your tablet, you know, the myriad of devices you've already got with you. So, you know, the excuse not having a laptop kind of goes out the window. That's the goal there.
All right, we got a lot of questions. Let's keep cranking. I have a question. I just purchased the 0 through 4 sway bar kit, and they are loud. Does it come with grease? B9 RS5. Yes, they do come with grease, but you will want to grease them periodically. I would recommend either whenever you start hearing them, or which is going to be kind of like a squeaking or groaning. It definitely is exacerbated by rain and wet weather. So recently we've had a lot of rain. My Q7 got a little squeaky, so we greased it, which quieted it up.
You don't really specify what's loud. If it's immediately after install,
if there's clunking and clanking, that's another.
End links could certainly not be torqued just, you know, quite enough.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let us know what the sound is you're hearing. But if you'd like to buy grease, we sell grease and a grease gun on our website, which is exactly what you need. Okay. There was another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, end links. If you're primarily driving on the street, I'd recommend our Dynamic Plus end links. That should be perfectly suitable for you. If you're tracking more and doing more motorsport type activities, take a look at our motorsport end links. If I wanted to get Stage 2 Plus for a 2011 Audi S4, does it automatically come with 93 octane? And I have test pipes as well as supporting upgrades.
Yes. When you, any stage of our file, if you buy that stage, you get all of the octanes and all of the variants for that stage. So like an Audi the B8 S4 Stage 2 Plus file is going to come with all the test pipe files, all the throttle body files, all the octanes that are at that 2 Plus level. So yes, you will have access to all that.
Someone says, won't Stage 3 be the mercracing supercharger? Yes, I believe that's what we said.
Yep. That's currently the forthcoming option.
There is this other option from I don't ever remember anything anymore.
Bitch.
Yeah. Magnuson had a Stage 3 that APR tried to support and failed horribly about 10 years ago. But that is technically out there.
Yeah, that was a little more the hardware, the intercooler option.
The problem was it used the same intercoolers as stock. So even though it was more supercharger, it's just the factory intercoolers didn't support the extra power and horrible tuning on top of that. Do you think AYRS3 will support the same TT turbos as previous, and will it help prioritize Stage 3 for 8S, 8V? I'm working on supporting and driver mods for now. We can't say. I don't know. That the DNWA is pretty similar to Daza. Does it use the same
DNW is the same. I mean, well,
same manifold
it's
and
got
everything?
some. Yeah, it's the same turbo setup on that motor,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's got
Yeah. The issue on
different
is that
cams and some other tweaks. Here.
that ECU is still locked from the factory. Nobody's
Yeah, I don't know of anyone.
nobody has access to it. Hang in there. I mean, it'll unlock at some point, but it's nice that you actually got a car. They're pretty hard to get. If you do stage one flashback to factory, will Audi be able to tell?
We talk about this pretty regularly. It's tough to say depending on the exact vehicle you have.
They
But
can guess.
They can guess, but we on many of the new platforms we set the flash counter back to what it was when we first saw it, just for that reason. But we can't guarantee that they won't be able to tell.
Yeah, but they also won't be able to know for sure.
Right.
So you can just play dumb. Fueling solutions for B9. We are working on things. We do have our A10 does use the RS7 injector, RS5 injector upgrade, although those are becoming impossible to get. So we are continuing to look into options on that, but yeah, the safe assumption is a lot more coming for B9. We're just getting started. I was asking if we're planning on making injectors for the 3.0T, and we are working on fueling solutions. We don't want to say too much at this time.
The supercharged motor.
Yeah. Because our friends are always out there listening. What are the transmission gearing differences? Did you see I tried to combine transmission and gearing into the transmirroring differences between the B9 S4 S5 and RS4 RS5, and how much acceleration advantage does it have?
I mean, the RS4 or an RS5 box is definitely. I would have to look. I can't remember offhand if it's just a final drive, and the gear set's the same. Okay, yeah.
The RS4 RS5s.
It's tight. Yeah, they're definitely tighter on the RS5 output. I just wasn't sure if it was just in the final, but yeah, RS5 is a much tighter gear set. As far as the exact outcome, that's a really tough thing to answer without putting one transmission, swapping the whole drive line between the two motors, because you got different power curves, different everything. So it's not an A/B comparison we've made.
Is a tune coming for the B9, B9.5 3.0T with factory cat on stage 3 TTE 810 with upgraded injectors? I mean, we have worked on it. We can do it. We're just not sure what the demand is out there for it.
Yeah, if you're running full injectors,
we
got a
wouldn't-
lot of,
we wouldn't do it. There'd be no need for upgraded injectors.
Yeah, you're kind
We
of
do it with stock injectors, but
no reason.
that's not the issue. The issue is these tunes and calibrations are a lot of work, and if we do there's an opportunity cost with anything we do. If we do it for this, then we're not doing it for something else. And so we're just not sure if it's like 5 people out there that want it, or if it's
not high.
I like the idea of it. It would be a very clean running. It won't be smog compliant, but it will be a very clean running, smog friendly option. It won't technically be smog compliant, but as far as stuff coming out your tailpipe will be very clean. And it'll still make a good amount of power, but again, these tunes are a lot of work. The calibration is a lot of work, and then the engineering that goes into after it, making it available and sellable and flashable, is tremendous amount of work. So anyone out there who's interested in that, shoot us an email. Ping in here. Let us know. Unfortunately, we don't have good ways to know who wants what. Would your EA839 coils work with the 837?
I doubt it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a totally different coil.
Yeah.
Just bolt down and mechanical provisions around it. I don't know that the length are the same at all, or the.
Are you guys going to release ECU software for APR DTR 6054 turbo for MQB Mark 7. We have no plans on
Nothing on the radar at this point.
Are you guys going to release tunes for the A38Y?
Nothing yet.
Eventually.
Talked about, but it's you know, it's just one of those things where the market is way smaller than everything else we're working on right now. So
Yeah,
we have to prioritize.
we will eventually get to those. There's still not very many cars out there, and
Audi sadly chose to put a different engine package in those, or
yeah.
you know, so you don't get the freebie handover
Yeah.
that we got previous years with the GTI software.
Which one is that? The Gen 3?
That's the Gen 3 with a late ECU. It's
Yeah.
the Gen 3B motor.
Mm-hmm. That sucks. Any customer using the TTE 720 stage 3 file get close to your world record or beat it yet? Quarter mile or 60 to 130? I haven't heard of anyone.
I mean, there's local customers. Actually, his 6130 might be quite close.
I say we were just full. Yeah, weather's kind of trash, but
Yeah.
I'll have to look. Yeah, his 6130's got to be pretty close.
It was quick.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't.
We do.
I mean,
have,
we just went out and ran it in a stock car or a stock weight car. It's not like we did any like
No.
valiant effort at running at it.
No, someone should shatter it easily because, again, we just took a stock full weight car and ran it.
Yeah, and I mean, at the drag strip, we put wheels and tires on it. So.
He beat our stock or wheels and tire time during CTFs.
Okay.
So,
So yeah, I mean, we've got customers knocking down the door and beating our times.
Yeah, we have someone local doing that. I was just informed via email that stage 3 file for my 2020 S4 is not available yet. I was going to do the turbo install this weekend. Any ETA on B9.5 stage 3?
Pretty sure all that should be available. We'll
Yeah,
take a look
I
at
thought
that.
we had that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what turbo and what ECU.
How do we follow up on this?
He should. Well, if you're not in our support queue, make sure you email that tuning in.
It sounds like someone's emailing him, so he
we'll
must
go
be.
with that.
Why is the new tune update slower than the other one, B9.5 S5? Apparently, this is feedback we're getting from people.
We'll have to look at it. I don't know what you're referring, what the actual, which update you're on and what's causing it. So we'll have to look at that.
You can always email tuning@034motorsport.com if you'd like to discuss that. Question about the 3.0 TFSI. In the description of a certain product of yours, saw something about revving past 7,800. Could we be seeing 8,000 plus RPM file soon? And what will the supporting mods? I'm assuming this is the supercharged motor.
I guess, yeah.
Definitely with rods and cams, the opportunity to rev higher than 7,800 is there. So definitely stay tuned. Because of Blue from Street Ride, I've started looking into PCV valves, catch cans. I'm only stage 185, but not trying to catch my car on fire. Do you believe at this stage I should get one?
I don't think the catch can's necessarily it. I mean,
I don't know if a catch can would.
it's more about placing the factory PCB.
Yeah. If the catch can replaces the factory PCB, then it could help. There are some out there that appear to be even worse. This is an area that we're currently looking into. I would simply recommend checking your oil cap regularly. You could also pull your hose off and just kind of test it to make sure that air doesn't flow in all directions.
Yeah.
But from what we've seen, the oil cap can loosen with a good or bad PCV, but it appears to be exacerbated with a bad PCV because once the crankcase pressurizes, it pushes up on the oil cap, which loosens the tension of the spring. On the cap, on the bottom of the cap, the spring tabs.
More force working against it.
Yeah. So stay tuned. This is an area that we're actively looking into right now. The lazy dog says he can't stick around because he's in Texas. All right, well, enjoy Texas.
But I'm in Texas. All right.
Freight trained a new M4 comp from a dig in my B9 RS5 thanks to the stage 1 ECU and 2 TCU. Very nice. Always nice to freight train another car.
Especially those BMW.
Jeets would like to know my recipe for my chili. So it's nothing like almost everything I do. There's no secrets and it's not rocket science. I just do it really well. So I would say take a look at any normal chili recipe and you could follow that. You can tailor the amount of chili powder you add to your taste. That's what I do every year. I cook chili that tastes exactly the same, and I just simply use my mouth to taste it until it's just right. I also add, in addition to like bell pepper, green and red bell peppers and celery and onion, I add fresh chopped jalapeno and pasilla peppers. Pasilla peppers are kind of like a bell pepper with some jalapeno taste with a little spice to them. But follow the normal chili recipe, but instead of using ground beef or something like that, start out by making pot roast. So you take your beef, which I would recommend like some kind of chuck pot roast cut, but you could use any kind of, $5 a pound beef like you would use for stew, and just throw that in a pot and bring some water up and to kind of the top of it, and then stick the whole pot in the oven at 350 until that beef is just falling apart tender. Then take the beef out and you can chop that up, but it's going to be just falling apart. And then the liquid that's left over is your base for the chili. So instead of using beef broth, you use the braising liquid. And then start building your normal chili using onion, celery, bell peppers, standard mirepoix, and then add some tomato sauce, and then you add the broth, the beef broth, and then you add the beef at the end. You can add beans or whatever you want to do. But the secret to the chili is basically the pot roast treatment. You could also use brisket. Brisket would be really good too. But the key is you want to use a kind of a fattier, tougher cut that just falls apart when you braise it for about 4 or 5 hours. Give it a try and let me know how it turns out. But other than that, I just combined pot roast and chili, which are two things that I love. But the braising liquid has so much more flavor in it than just normal beef broth. B9.5 stage 3 file update.
That was a follow up for that guy. So yeah, the 710 B9.5 files. Some of those are being wrapped up right now. Literally cars on the dyno.
Right.
Some things to it.
Well, we'll have something very soon, but let's follow up with this customer and the ticket. Follow up on B9.5 update being slower.
Yeah, this is just some of the adjustments that were made in the file. So, it shouldn't be any slower in the quarter mile stuff. There were some low RPM range, basically boost control tweaks that we made to catch some overshoots that some people were seeing. So that might be what you're experiencing, but your quarter mile stuff should be the same and more consistent.
Any plans to enhance your wheel catalog for B9, B9.5 S4? PS, still depressed that I missed Winterfest.
Aw.
I think more 034 mods are the only cure. Well, you're right about that. Sorry you missed it.
Fix it.
It was a great time. We will have our Flowform wheels coming. Those have been plagued by worldwide supply chain disruption issues more than pretty much any other product we've done recently. But that's something we still have our forged ZTFs are amazing, and I don't know what you would be looking for other than that, other than different styles or something like that, which we may bring eventually. But
We don't have
the 18-inch for the B9. All right, do people want 18s? That's pretty small in that car.
It's becoming more popular for drag race as well as
Yeah. Well, we can certainly look into it. That's not a problem. Flow forms are a good option there. Let's see. Let me just scan some of these questions.
That one's a good one.
I get flashed from a 034 file. Yes, I'm unfortunately not on one of your tunes yet.
Be fixed.
Okay. At a 034 dealer, would I be able to buy my own cable later and have access to the files?
100%.
Yeah, just buy it off our site or buy a cable from the dealer.
Yep.
Either way, we do sell the cables. They're $150.
Yep. But yeah, you'll have access to everything we have available for your car. When you purchase a tune, you'll have access to that tune and all of the basically the tunes beneath it. So if you buy stage 2 of anything, you'll get stage 2 and stage 1.
The Winterfest sales.
For the end of the day.
Okay, so yeah, Winterfest sale is still going on through the end of the day.
We should mention our Winterfest sale is currently going. So that cable is normally 150. It's 135 today. And everything, all 034 products on our website are on sale currently. So I would recommend jumping on that. It ends tonight at midnight.
Yeah, we should talk about these guys too.
Oh, yes. Let me just mention these. These are our new RS5 ResX. You can almost see through it. Just a high quality ResX product. Our ResX products are designed to give you the kind of sound of a aftermarket exhaust at a fraction of the price. So normally in the RS5 there are 2 resonators in these pipes that we remove. These are a beautiful, what we call our titanium finish. They don't show up on camera very well because of the glare.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just a beautiful uniform finish.
To talk to our lighting guy.
There's a beautiful 034 logo, silk screened here, or laser etched here. These do include new exhaust clamps and do add a nice tone to the RS5.
Yeah, it wakes it up quite a bit.
The factory exhaust flows plenty, so this isn't really about flow. This is about sound, and this gives you the sound that you're looking for from the power performance that you already have. So we will be releasing these this week. We're also releasing a ResX version similar to this for the new RS6 4.0T. They look like this, except they're like 3 times longer. They're massive. And RS7. They're gorgeous though. So yeah, instead of dumping $3,000 on aftermarket exhaust, these will be a fraction of the cost and give you a nice increase in tone. All right. What else? I've seen 034 Rs4 B8.5 motor mounts are out of stock. Is it better to wait or get the track ones, daily car? It depends what your aptitude or appetite for NVH is. The track ones aren't horrible. Nate has motorsport
Motorsport, I honestly,
they're not
I
bad.
don't mind them at all.
But you're
for daily or otherwise.
You're gonna feel some NVH. Your exhaust is gonna sound a little louder. I don't know if you've gone to ETA. They might be right around the corner. Typically these days when we run out of stock, we get stuff back in pretty quickly.
I mean, my wife has never complained about the mounts, so I mean, they're not that bad.
I heard she kind of likes them.
What's that? She'll let me know.
What?
She just doesn't like it.
So I would check, but I think if they're only a few weeks out or something like that, then just wait for the street ones. Sorry, we're out of stock. We really try hard not to always have this stuff in stock. Have you guys ever dressed up as Batman and Robin for Halloween?
This sounds like there's some innuendo.
No, not that. Maybe Bert and Ernie.
Just that.
What wheel and tire setup would you recommend to get now for the RS5? We know the 18s are prototypes. We want a lightweight wheel for a drag setup. I mean, our ZTFs are light. They're very light. But if you want even lighter than that,
18s, though.
the 18s, you're going to lose out on width, which is where a lot of the lightness comes from. And those are, coming soon. So I would recommend waiting for that if you'd like. Really nice drag wheel setup. What oil is better for Audi S4 B9 still running stage 3? Again, we always recommend, basically factory spec oil. You could go to the SQ5 spec oil, which is a little bit more viscous. But we haven't found a need to do anything different than the factory specification.
Yeah, well,
Which one? My software to tune is on another computer that I don't have with me. How can I get the software again on my other computer?
There's a link we can shoot you just to download that.
You can put it on as many computers as you want.
Yep.
Email to me.
Yep.
Tuning at any help with tuning, just email tuning@034motorsport.com. All right, I think we're out of time. I think we got through most of the juicy questions. So,
Yep. Thanks, guys.
even the Bert and Ernie one. All right, cheers. We'll see you guys next week. The bat